I am now in a position to announce that Mr. Nelson Mandela will be released at the Victor Verster prison on Sunday, the 11th of February, at about 3 p.m. Yesterday evening, I met with Mr. Mandela in Cape Town, together with Ministers Viljoen and Coetzee. During the meeting, Mr. Mandela was informed of the government's decision regarding his release. We would all like Mr. Mandela's release to take place in a dignified and orderly manner. To attain this, government officials are at the moment involved in discussions with parties concerned in order to afford them the opportunity to make suitable arrangements. Two issues.
Today marks 26 years since the historic announcement by former President FW de Klerk to release the late former President Nelson Mandela in 1990. The announcement made in Parliament put South Africa firmly on the road to its democratic transition. And in studio this morning, we have with us, and we're very fortunate enough to have Ndileka Mandela, the granddaughter of the late former president. So good to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you, Leanne.
When you look at something like that, how does it make you feel? Still, now, 26 years later.
Well, it takes me back to where I was on the day. I was at Medunsa, having just started my degree in nursing BK with curatorship. And we were watching it glued to the screens and in anticipation of what was going to happen the following day, and chanting freedom songs. And although I knew that Granddad would be coming out, because the previous year on his birthday in 1989, he had called his firm, all of us, to Victor Verster to tell us that, the ANC was going to be unbanned, they're going to start releasing Walter Sisulu and then the other struggle icons, and then he'd will allow us to be released.
Yeah. So, but hearing the announcement, obviously, because things were changing
yes,
all the time. It was like, I'm going to be released, but under these conditions, and then he will refuse to come out. I'm not coming anywhere. Yeah. So, when you finally knew that you were going to get your grandfather back, did you have grand expectations?
Of course, it was surreal. I saw Granddad under constrained conditions, in starting from Robben Island to Pollsmoor, to at least at Victor Verster. Starting with Pollsmoor, the present conditions were relaxed, that we had the first contact visit with him, and at Victor Verster we could spend weekends with him, and it was like, wow, like I'm gonna have my granddad at last. We can go for coffee and things like that. But those illusions were shattered when he came out.
I would imagine so. When he did come out, what was it like? And you've been asked this question 100 times, but it wasn't. You sit on your granddad's knee and listen to stories.
Yeah, it was.
You were 24 years old at the time. You weren't going to sit on his knee.
He was still my grandfather, and I expected to do certain things with him, and he would be mine eventually. I would have him with me at last, but it was not to be, because Granddad was more, occupied with issues of state and making, making sure that we have our freedom. At least black people could be able to vote. Yeah,
he belonged to South Africa, and then of course belonged to the world. So you had to share him, and that's the reality.
Yeah.
But the pride of still having that Mandela name and carrying that legacy with you. I know that you've got the Thembekile Mandela Foundation, so you live in his footsteps still.
Yes, I do. Well, I would say it was by divine intervention, because if any person would have told me back then in 1990 that I would be doing this now, I would have told them that they're talking rubbish. Yeah. It was during the times that I spent with him that I decided let me continue in his footsteps.
Yeah, which is very, very admirable, and it's great that you do it. It's in your blood. There's nothing you can do.
So.
It runs thick.
So.
But if you look now, and the vision that your grandfather had for this country, you look around, would he be proud?
Well, yes, he would be proud. There's some gains, there's some setbacks, but every day there's South Africans that are doing a lot of good for for the country. And yes, it's to be expected that there will be some setbacks, and I suppose he will be disappointed with those aspects.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, we've got the opening of Parliament that's happening tomorrow, and I mean, that was that moment where we saw your grandfather standing there and becoming the president of the country, and yet there's the unknown happening tomorrow, where there's so much friction and there's so much happening, but perhaps that is the story of a democratic country.
I suppose so, because if you look at other liberation, at other countries where they started the liberation movement, at about the 25-year mark, 26-year mark, that they are, you get such rumblings that in the state, that in the fact that perhaps the people that are in power, they become complacent or in some areas, and perhaps sometimes I always say to my friends that perhaps sometimes things have to go completely wrong to turn around.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's what the country is going through right now.
Perhaps it is. Before I let you go, Ndileka Mandela Foundation, I know that we touched on it very briefly, but what is it that you exactly do?
Well, it's to do with we're continuing the legacy of granddad in education, health, but we've added youth development, and we are known as a Ndileka Mandela Foundation for our sanitary wear drive, the pride of the rural girl, where we supply girl children for a year's supply with sanitary wear.
Yeah.
To date, we've supplied over 10,000 girls,
Wonderful.
All of them for a year. This year would see us launching 2 agricultural projects, one in Clarkbury, which is we've partnered with the Agricultural Research Council and the GTI, where it will see us, there's 10 co-ops that have been formed. Those 10 co-ops will start at the mega incubator that will be stationed in Clarkbury. They will then train there and then migrate to their own land. They'll be taught all the practices in cropping and small farming. The other one that will be launching is here in Johannesburg in Western area, and with the West Call, where we actually training people. We're partnering with some mining houses where that mining is downscaling people. Then we're retraining those people in agriculture, where they will have an agricultural accredited program where they can then, together with the ARC again, where they find offtake agreements and make sure that they grow according to spec.
Wonderful. Well, on that note, I'm going to put you on the spot here and make you climb Kilimanjaro next year, because it is for that exact reason. You can take the 10,000 children and triple it by just reaching the summit on your grandfather's birthday. Raise those funds and do it with the Nelson Mandela Foundation and the Ndileka Foundation.
It's a deal, as long as you help me get the sponsor, and we'll start trading.
Okay.
For next year.
Shall I do it with you again?
Yes, yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But no, it's awesome. Listen, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Really, always such a pleasure talking to you. Here on the program with us, Ndileka Mandela, the founder of the Ndileka Mandela Foundation, and of course the granddaughter of Nelson Mandela. Let's take a break. News after this. Stay tuned.